Hello students, how are you? So today we are going to start a new chapter. We will begin with chapter 2, Methods of Inquiry in Psychology, class 11 NCERT. So in this chapter we will learn how psychologists conduct research, collect data, analyze information and follow ethical guidelines while studying human behavior. So you can see the mind map of this chapter 2, Methods of Inquiry in Psychology. Students, have you ever wondered why some children are very confident while others are shy? Always I ask these questions again and again. Why do some students score better in exams? Why do some people become angry quickly while others remain calm? So you all need to answer these questions. And also psychologists are also interested in finding answers to such questions, but they do not rely on guesses or personal opinions. They use scientific methods to study human behavior. Okay, imagine a doctor diagnoses a disease. The doctor collects information, examines the patient, and then reaches a conclusion. Similarly, psychologists collect information, observe behavior, conduct experiments, and analyze data before drawing conclusions. So, in this chapter, after reading this chapter, you would be able to explain the goals and nature of psychological inquiry, understand different types of data used by a psychologist, describe some important methods of psychological inquiry, understand the methods of analyzing data, and learn about the limitations of psychological inquiry and ethical considerations. So, we are going to learn in this, first of all, introduction and then goals of psychological inquiry. In the introduction part, we are going to study about psychology is a scientific discipline. It uses systemic methods to answer questions about behavior and mental processes. Then methods help in collecting valid, reliable and objective data. And then goals of psychological inquiry, in which we are going to discuss about behavior, describe behavior, understand causes, predict behavior, control or influence behavior, develop and test theories. Number 3 is steps in conducting scientific research, identifying the problem, reviewing literature, formulating a hypothesis, research design, data collection, data analysis, interpretation, report writing. So all these are going to discuss in this part. Then alternative paradigms of research, in which positivism, objective reality uses quantitative methods, interpretivism means multiple realities uses qualitative methods, constructivism, reality is constructed, meaning is important. Then we are going to discuss about nature of psychological data. Number 5, behavioral data means observable actions, self-report data, thoughts, feelings, attitudes. Physiological data, heart rate, brain activity, etc., can be qualitative or quantitative. These are the methods of research we are going to discuss and elaborate, because this is very important chapter in psychology. Because if you want to measure the psychological tests, you need to learn or you need to understand all these things, research methods and the steps in conducting scientific research. So this is very important topic in psychology. Next is some important methods in psychology. You can see these are the methods we are going to study: observational method, experimental method, correlational research, survey research, example means survey method, psychological testing and case study, obviously. And then analysis of data, in which quantitative method use statics and numerical analysis. Qualitative methods uses thematic analysis, description, patterns. Then limitations of psychological inquiry means behavior is complex and variable, ethics, constraint, influence of researchers' bias, limitation of tools and techniques. So ethical issues are also we are going to discuss, in which we need to take informed consent, privacy and confidentiality, right to withdraw, avoiding harm, deception means used only when necessary, and debriefing. Key terms we are going to learn in this: research, scientific method, hypothesis, variables, data, sample, population, reliability, reliabilities, validity, objectivity, ethics, correlation, experiment, survey, case study, testing. So, what is the summary? Psychological inquiry uses various scientific methods to collect, analyze, and interpret data to understand and explain behavior. Choosing the right method and following ethical guidelines ensure the quality and trustworthiness of research. So this is the mind map of this chapter. So students, I request you all to keep your textbook with you when we are going to discuss this chapter. I'm going to upload in next video the proper explanation of all the content under this topic. So there is one quotation, right, which is quoted by Gautam Buddha: an idea that is developed and put into action is more important than an idea that exists only as an idea. So, this is the basis of psychology, because when the idea is developed and put into action, that is the importance of that idea, then an idea that exists only as an idea, वो idea सिर्फ idea ही रह जाएगा, अदर उसके ऊपर कोई एक्शन नहीं लिया जाएगा. So this is a quotation given by Gautam Buddha. So okay, so in next class we will discuss all this. So we will discuss introduction part today. So what is psychological inquiry, students? So psychological inquiry basically is a scientific process used to understand human behavior and mental processes. For example, a teacher notices that some students are shy while others are very confident, right? This is my best example given to you every time. So, to understand the reason, she collects information and studies their behavior systematically, right? Same psychology works on the information and data collected. Psychology is a science because it uses observation, experimentation, and evidence. So, without these things, we are not able to measure anything psychologically. Okay, right? So, goals, it is descriptive, means describing behavior as accurately as possible if we take proper data. For example, recording how many times a child raises their hand in class. So this is the goal of inquiry. Means if you want to know about that child, you need to observe that child very carefully about whatever the query behind you want to study behind it. Explainable, finding out why behavior occurs. Explain why does a child feel anxious before an exam. Okay, so it is predictable, predicting future behavior. For example, students who study regularly are likely to score better. Okay, so it is controllable, modifying or improving behavior. Means if teaching relaxation techniques to reduce exam stress, so we control it, we control our behavior. Okay, right, students, we will discuss in next video about all these chapters, contents or topics under this chapter. So if you have any doubts, so get ready with your doubts. We will discuss in the message box, or you can ask me personally also. So today we have seen the mind map of this chapter 2, methods of inquiry in psychology. So thank you, students.